Michael Mann put all the numbers together and used it to create a very special graph. And here it is. It's basically a graph of temperature over the last 1,000 years. And the first thing that hits you is there's virtually no sign of the medieval warm period. I mean, the skeptics would have a big bump in temperature just here when the world got warmer. Instead, it looks like for at least 900 years, give or take a few ups and downs, it's incredibly flat. But it's not until you get to the 20th century and bang. Temperatures shoot up in a way it's unlike anything we've seen for at least a millennia. Now this graph tells a very different story from the skeptics. They say present temperatures have nothing special. This graph says the opposite. The simplicity of this graph makes it a really powerful image, and it's even been given its own name, the hockey stick. It became one of the most famous and controversial graphs in science. It was so dramatic that it became an icon, an instantly recognisable symbol of man-made climate change. Al Gore even used it in his Oscar-winning movie. Not surprisingly, skeptics hated it. They said the hockey stick was a fiction, because there was virtually no trace of the medieval warm period. They accused man of using faulty data and dodgy statistics to rewrite history. The hockey stick still provokes strong reactions today. What's your reaction when you see that? It's probably the most famous graph in the world, isn't it?
And I think what a shame that a scientific scandal like this would be perpetuated on the American public and on the United Nations.
A scandal.
It's a scandal. It's absolutely outrageous.
This has even been discredited by the National Academy of Sciences. They said it was unsupportable.
When you see this, what goes through your mind now?
Well, the first thing is great disbelief.
Scientists are always bitching with each other. I've been at a conference when someone said, you know nothing about this subject, but they kind of enmity that's been directed at Michael Mann as something else. Some even accused him of the ultimate scientific crime, fraud.
If it's fraud, they should be in jail. If it was incompetence, they should be fired.
I never expected the sort of attacks that we were subject to when I began this work.
This was clearly, and I'm going to say it bluntly, deliberately bent.
If you can't win your argument on the basis of science, you try to win based on defamation, of slander, of rhetoric that sounds convincing but has no basis in fact.
I would say it's as close to scientific fraud as you can get.
Michael Mann was attacked in print and even more viciously on the web. Entire websites were set up to pick holes in the hockey stick. But whilst the skeptics were busy attacking Mann, other researchers were doing their own science, hunting for more proxies and using different methods to work out past temperatures. Soon, Michael Mann's graph was joined by many others, all reconstructing the past 1,000 years of temperature. The question was, would they back up Michael Mann, or would they prove him wrong? You know, it might look confusing, but this graph has a really clear message. The red line is Michael Mann's original hockey stick graph. It's very flat, with hardly any medieval warm period. The other lines are the reconstructions that have been done since. Now there's a big spread. In other words, scientists disagree about a lot of the temperatures in here. That's not really surprising, because working out the temperatures for the past few hundred years is a really difficult task. It largely depends on what indications you use. But the crucial part is over here. This is 1000 AD. Now, some of the reconstructions show temperatures a little warmer than Mann's curve. And some of them also show got into much colder conditions at the end of the medieval warm period. What that probably means is that Michael Mann underestimated some of the variation in the past 1,000 years. In other words, the hockey stick is a little bit too straight, but it depends on the reconstruction you use. What these lines all agree on, though, is one thing. There's no evidence of any period in the past 1,000 years that's as warm as the second half of the 20th century. In other words, the end of the 20th century really is unprecedented. Once again, the sceptical attacks have made the science stronger. We now have a whole hockey team's worth of graphs. They make a very convincing case that the global warming detected by the thermometers and satellites really is unusual.